Okay, Ella, the floor is yours.
Awesome. Thank you, Paulina. Well, I think she basically said everything I was going to say, so let's get right into it. Just a quick overview on everything I'll just be going through today. I'll just be going through a quick introduction, why, as in why I get nervous, and transition that to why you get nervous while speaking. And hopefully through that, we get to go through some sort of brainstorming activity that gets you pinpoint exactly where you get nervous. And then we'll be talking about specific and personalized methods for everyone to overcome that anxiety we feel. And then I'll just share some resources, and then we'll move into Q&A, and I'll share some of my contact info just in case you want to send me a private message or something like that. So yeah, let's go right into it. First, let's talk a bit about who I am, where are my experiences, and why I get nervous sometimes while speaking in public. And yeah, I do get nervous sometimes. So I'm currently a grade 11 student. That was when I was writing this PowerPoint, but now I'm done grade 11 and I'm proud to move on to grade 12 next September. I'm located in Toronto, Canada, and a fun fact about me is that I prefer tea over coffee, although iced coffee versus a fruit tea is an exception for me. I think fruit teas just aren't my style. And yeah, just a note, thank you to your project Make a Statement for reaching out to me and inviting me on Instagram. I really appreciate that. So a little bit of what I've done. I'm an international speaker and performer for 12 years. And other than speaking, as in speaking engagements only, I've also done quite a few MC roles for music or podcasts or even hackathons. Throughout my career, I guess, I've impacted 60,000 individuals. And I'm the chapter founder and president at Teachers Speech Toronto, which is just a branch of the bigger organization Teachers Speech. Some of the customers and the clients I work with include the Peel District School Board, the Sick Kids Foundation, the City of Brampton, which is a city like right next to Toronto and Mississauga, around that area, and also Market Morris Council. Again, like another city's council, I guess you can call it that. So yeah, a little bit about me and my qualifications as in who I am. And here's why I get nervous sometimes. And yeah, I do get nervous as well. I think it's just a really normal thing to feel this way. So the first reason is that I get nervous is I sometimes doubt myself in my head, like, oh, English isn't my first language. And I actually used to be in ESL for a few years. So that sometimes makes me doubt if my communication skills aren't good enough. I also have a lot of like, what if questions running through my head. What if I mess up? What if others would judge me? And there's always something big on the line, whether it's just, getting that workshop and a message through, or if there's a prize at the end. I'm sure this is going to be a big one for the tournament, as there is that big like champion spot you're getting. And also, I sometimes worry about credibility and experience because, you can tell that I'm obviously just an ordinary grade 11 student, and this is like all I've been through. So, no professional training on that, I have to say. And sometimes I worry about others' expectations of me because I have, I guess, X many years of experience. Am I supposed to act a certain way? Am I supposed to be able to deliver a certain way? And what if I don't? And sometimes especially with like TED Talk style workshops, sometimes I worry that maybe my idea on what I'm going to say is not very accepted and it might not be good enough. So, yeah, just a brief background on why I get nervous. I'm pretty sure these are common reasons that a lot of people will share, but I just really want to be open and show that, hey, this happens to all of us. So, definitely not a one person thing. Next, let's move on to you. Why do you get nervous? And through that, I'll show some scientific reasons behind why you might get nervous. And yeah, it's totally normal for this to happen. It's not like, a weird, I don't know what you call it, but a weird thing that happens to one person. So I think the best way to gain confidence is to let go of fear. So by that, I mean, we got to get rid of this cool term here, which is just a fancy name for the fear of public speaking. And yeah, there's really nothing special to it, I guess. It happens to a majority of us. It happens when you're about to perform or you're expected to perform an oral presentation. Usually it's in front of a big crowd, but it can also happen when you're doing like for example, like an interview for like a position that you really wanted. It is actually the number one fear. So it's the biggest fear, and it's actually above, I think, claustrophobia and a lot of those big ones. It's actually experienced by 25% of the general population regularly. So it's definitely a normal feeling to have, and sometimes I do get that feeling as well. So yeah, I mean, maybe it's not on that level, not on that end of the spectrum, but it's like a feeling that a lot of us share. So there's definitely nothing wrong with it, and it happens to all of us sometimes. So here are the scientific common reasons behind sometimes why we get nervous for these. So first, let's go through the acronym PET. This is like the one I use to kind of remember everything. The first one kind of goes for like a scientific background with like your nervous system and everything and how they interact together. If you're a sciencey person, this might be like a really easy topic for you to understand. The second one is, what were your past experiences? Like, did you have like a past experience where something bad happened? The third one, just thoughts, what goes on in your brain. And the last one, we're going to talk about situation wise. So let's go through each one of them in a little bit more detail. So the P, it's basically fear and anxiety that you already linked with public speaking, really excites the nervous system on an extreme extent. And that simulates your like fight, freeze, or flight response. And it's just your brain's natural way of responding to the threatening stimulus. And what this does is it interferes with your confidence when you're speaking and also your ability to communicate your idea. As you might know, while we're speaking, it's really rare that we actually flight and run off stage. Most of the time, we just like freeze and like we kind of just forget what we're doing. But yeah, these are just like the main things that might result in that. So if you regularly freeze or you think about wanting to fight the feeling or run off the stage, that might be this reason right here. So next, let's talk about experiences. You might have a prior bad experience with public speaking or oral presentation, like I said. One of my bad experiences was actually, I think instead of the word call, I said the word clock. It's a really weird mix up, but I did that once. And yeah, that was like a really embarrassing situation since the sentence I said absolutely didn't make sense at that point. So that was my bad experience. And after that point, my second experience, like right after that, my brain literally followed the pattern and predict how this time will play out. So my brain was like, oh, you're gonna say a bunch of weird things and mix up a bunch of words. And yeah, your speech is gonna be really mixed up, jumbled together. Nobody's gonna be able to understand you. And that negative perception just leads to discomfort and avoidance overall with public speaking. So if you have thought patterns that go something like, I messed up last time and this time is going to be the same, I'm going to mess up again. So I better just avoid this altogether. That might be because of a prior bad experience you had. So next, thoughts. So there are actually two types. You can be overestimating your abilities, which is kind of like, I think that I am at this level, that I have to keep at this elite level, and that you're kind of afraid of damaging your reputation or your image. And this is absolutely normal. We all have some sort of like brand and some image that we want to show the world. So this is an absolutely normal feeling to have. And it doesn't really have to have anything to do with having like too big of an ego or something like that. And there's the other side, which is the underestimating abilities, where you kind of feel like a fraud in a way. It rises your anxiety, and you start to think that you don't have the skills or the experience that you need to do this. So, the first one, which is like the frightening version of thoughts, is probably a performance oriented thinking, where you're thinking about you're presenting and people are there to catch your mistakes. But in reality, if for example, you right now sitting through this workshop, you're not really here to see how many words I can mix up, how many ums I include in a sentence. You're more here to listen to the idea I can communicate. So moving our thought from performance oriented to communication oriented can be a great way to deal with these thought related issues. And lastly, situation. So this can be a variety of things depending on what the situation is, but a big one will be experience and status. Are everyone else more experienced than you? Are you just not as experienced or not as, I guess, professionally trained in a way? Um, is there like a degree of evaluation that you're considering? Is this like judged by professional judges, maybe varsity debater in this point? So it's a type of audience that might put a lot of stress on. Are you sharing a novel of a not widely accepted idea that's still new? Will people disagree with that idea? And what's on the line for you? In this case, it might just be the prize. Just everything that goes within a situation can really affect how you perform and just how confident you are in general. So let's take a quick break right now. Yeah, let's be back in 5 minutes. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that was a lot of information to take in. So yeah, try to just get a quick water break and yeah, be back in 5 minutes. Okay, I think everyone should be somewhat trickling back from their break. I personally like to do like short chunks. I have like this weird education system where you go through like a quadmester system, and each morning class is like 2.5 hours long. My brain just cannot take that. It's just too long for me to consistently stay focused and absorb the information. So yeah, I just try to take like short breaks every now and then. And obviously, I won't expect you guys to do something that I clearly can't do. So yeah, let's take a quick break in the middle. And once we're ready and back, we can just get right started. Yeah, breaks are really important. We can't really function in a way if we don't give our brains enough time to rest. It's like recharging your phone, you need to recharge it when it's back at 100%, you're like ready to go, while when it's at like maybe 10%, you start to get anxious, like, oh, it's not going to go well. So yeah, let's continue on with it. All right, let's go through a quick review, see if we can remember the information we learned, and let's apply that through an activity. So again, the common reasons, just to remind you, and over here we have a Jamboard. So this is just a Jamboard to get you thinking about what makes you nervous. So jot down a quick point. I have like a previous one on what makes me nervous. And if you ever want to just think back to my example and things that you can apply to it, feel free to do so. I'll send the link right in the chat. Okay, let me know if you can get on it or if you need any help. Oh, I see a lot of people coming on. Feel free to grab a sticky, and this is totally anonymous. I can't see what you're sharing. Other people can't see what you're sharing either. Well, they can see what you're sharing, but not like who is sharing that. So yeah. By the way, you can grab a sticky by clicking on this like page symbol here, sticky note. And then I can write something like, for example, let's go back to one of the earlier points I had. Let's go for the first one. English wasn't my first language. And if you can, try to link it to something. One of the pet acronyms I had. I think this will fall under like a thoughts thing, where I would constantly underestimate my abilities. This should be, yeah, it should be right there. And you can change the color of the sticky notes through these things. So make that one orange. Messing up or getting a bad grade. Yeah. Oh my gosh. That's a big one for me too. It's like the education system just puts so much pressure on you to, have some sort of like right thing and a good mark, because that basically determines your university and your career thing, as what the education system tells us. The fear of being judged, not being good enough thoughts. Yeah. It's hard to think that people aren't there to kind of evaluate you for your mistakes, but for actually what you're saying. Yeah, I think that's a big one with thoughts. I think that's something that a lot of people experience. And I think messing up or getting a bad grade, which one would that fall under? Would that be maybe thought, situation, or have you had like a previous bad experience with that one? Yeah, language barrier. Yeah, I think that's a big one as well. Just feeling like you're lacking something in a way. Would you say that goes under, which one would that go under? Under the PENS acronym. What people think of what I say and their perception reaction. Body language, thoughts, the response to my thoughts related to thoughts. Yeah. Yeah, we're kind of worried about what the audience thinks. And that could also go under situation as well. And I think any of them can go under overexciting your nervous system and thinking that this is such a big thing, you got to get right. Underestimating, yeah. I think this is so common in imposter syndrome, where we think that we're not good enough and we downplay our achievements. I think those are very valid reasons. And if you don't have enough space, feel free to move on to like the second page as well. But I think with like the amount of participants we have, it should be okay. Anything else we want to add here? And feel free to add more than one if you want to. Oh, I see another one. Sometimes we think about the consequence so much. If we can't perform well, we will, yeah, it's like the if I don't do this, this will happen, or I will, it's kind of like self sabotage in a way where we kind of, I guess, push ourselves down the rabbit hole. I'm gonna check the chat to see if anyone can't get on. Yeah, I think everyone's on, so that's great. Any other points we want to add, or maybe I think we're good to move on because I do see a lot of really good points here. I think we're good to move on to the next part then. All right, let's do it. So I'm gonna get back to my slide. Okay, let's go through the next one. 4, overcoming anxiety. So how can we break through all of the reasons we're experiencing? So first we pinpoint what's going through our heads and why we feel this way, and how do we overcome this to become a confident speaker? So I firmly believe in finding the why before the how. So we first found out why you were uncomfortable with public speaking through our previous exercise with pets and also the Jamboard. Now let's track the why and let's use that to tackle the how. How can we use our reason that we came up with? So that pinpoint that we got to address how we're going to react. Everyone has almost like a slightly different version on why they get nervous. So yeah, we need to address specifically for your reason. So if you can relate to the first one, which I think a lot of us can, maybe not directly, but I think it somehow always subconsciously goes back to this point. So how can we stop exciting our nervous system too much? Some of the things that you can potentially say to yourself to address this is that it's not important. There's nothing major to it, or I do this all the time, which kind of makes this like average, simple, leveled playing thing. That's nothing special or like, too over the top. That can be a great way to just calm yourself in any situation. So experience. So how can we cut that association with a prior bad experience, or for example, an experience where a teacher tells you you have to get this, have to get a good grade. You can say something like, this isn't like last time. This is a new experience to yourself. This is just physically separating, like this is that, this is that. And your brain loves to compare and contrast. So saying things like this one includes this, or this one didn't include this is a great way to separate it. For example, this one was was at school with my teacher, and now the previous one that I did was, for example, at like a conference, and this one definitely didn't include industry professionals, and that one definitely didn't include a teacher. So these two experiences are separate. They're not related. They're not going to hurt each other. So yeah, focus on the now and stop overthinking about what happened before. So thoughts. I think a lot of us got thoughts on that. I think this is just such a huge topic we need to go over. So how can we remain neutral on our abilities? So we're not overthinking that we need to protect our image, and we're not also underthinking that we're not qualified enough. And we need to become more communication oriented. We're not speaking to perform and be judged. We're speaking to communicate our ideas. So the idea is what the audience wants to hear, right? You're right now, you're not really looking at how many mistakes I make while speaking, or if I'm like qualified enough to speak here. You're probably looking more at what ideas can you get out of this. So that's like the main part here. The audience are mostly here to hear my idea, not only to hear me and how much I can mess up. So thinking about just focusing on the idea instead of you was a great way to separate that. So if you think that your idea isn't good enough or isn't widely accepted enough, that definitely goes under situation. So how can we silence the special circumstances of the situation? So if you think that you're not qualified enough, you can say everyone's the same here. For the competition, we're all high school students attending a competition. Like there isn't a random, I guess, professional with like 20 years of speaking experience there. Everyone is basically on the same level there. And regardless of status, we're all speakers at the same event. And the same can go for ideas, regardless of the idea. We're all speakers at the same event. We all share the same idea, not the same idea, but we all share the idea that we want to share the idea. So, yeah, just basically neutralizing it and silencing these special circumstances would be the great way to end a lot of the struggles that we had on the board. All right, let's go for next, which I'll just be going a few resources and contact information. And I actually prepared a special gift for the attendees. So, if you've done a lot of my workshops in the past, I always do this. I personally, one of my pet peeves are when a teacher just goes on through a presentation or something, but doesn't give you anything to refer to. And then I'm just like, oh my gosh, I got to take down all this notes, and they go by so fast. So, in case that you miss anything, I compiled everything in this presentation plus more information, practices, templates, speaking examples, and all of that in a Google Doc. You can read off the slide, so I won't go through all the details about that. So I'll quickly show you what it is. So this is the doc that I compiled, and make sure to check them out here through the link. You can find a lot of great details and a lot of other great workshops through Make a Statement's Instagram. So everything we have so far in a chart format, and here's another exercise that you can work on. So there's that. And there's also a Notion version of it. So yeah, in Notion you can expand to see the exercise instead. So yeah, you definitely can read this. So I probably won't be reading all of this to you. So yeah, if you're interested in it, I can definitely send it in the chat. So here is the Google Doc for it. And let's share it to everyone. And here's the Notion version of it. If you're interested in more guides like this, you can probably hop onto the site. And this is the actual site that we're talking about here. Over here, you have more guides here that I can definitely share this with you as well. This is another guide that we have. Well, a few more guides here. So yeah, they're definitely not as, I guess, specifically related to public speaking, but there are a lot of other guides and a few more guides that I'm coming up with over here if you want to check those out. And yeah, I'm just gonna go back to the presentation right now. I think that would be a pretty good summary of what everything we had with everything we had. So yeah, let's move on to the ending contact. So yeah, I just want to end off with a quote that confidence is the most beautiful thing you can possess by Sabrina Carpenter. I think that it's such a beautiful thing that we can have, and that once we have it, we own it. Nobody can take that away from us. So hopefully this workshop taught you something about confidence and overcoming the fear and the anxiety you need to overcome to become confident. And yeah, thank you all for just the great engagement in the chat. So let's move on to Q&A now. I wanted to leave like at least 15 minutes at the end for Q&A, just because I know that there was a form and that you might have a few questions from what I went through. So yeah, feel free to unmute or type in the chat any questions you have. Oops. I keep on messing up the slides. I don't know why. But yeah, I don't think this interferes with my communication of the topic in a way. So yeah, definitely trying to switch from that performance mentality to that communication mentality here.
Okay. Well, thank you, Ella, for the wonderful presentation that you've just given us all and all of your nice little tips and tricks. Everyone be sure to go look at the guides. I'm sure that they're wonderful. So, one of the questions that we actually got from the sign up form is,
Mhm.
how do you deal with nerves of public speaking? More specifically, how do you interact with the crowd without it seeming forced?
Ooh, I think being genuine is a good part of it. I know that as humans, we're never like perfect at what we do. And just having that real imperfect element of it, just being human instead of being robotic, really attracts like the same kind of feeling, which everyone, regardless of, the level you're at, are imperfect. And we all have these little mistakes here and there. So just embracing that and showing that it's okay to be that way while you're having a presentation or while you're doing like a tournament. So if you get stuck, it's okay, everybody gets stuck. You can move right on from that. And if you're at a presentation that I'm on now and you're talking about public speaking, you can feel free to pinpoint a few things about yourself if you feel comfortable with that. I think that way just makes it genuine and it doesn't make it sound like I'm like really forcing that engagement. And also, if I see something in the chat that looks interesting, I'll probably add a comment to it or ask a question for that or just share my own experience with it. It's more about whatever flows with you and kind of embracing who you are.
That's some wonderful advice. Another question that we have is, how do you actually find these speaking opportunities other than obviously we have like TEDx talks? Like, did you actively
Mhm.
seek out these sorts of opportunities or did people reach out to you just like this make a statement talk?
Yeah, I feel like everybody gets a lot of rejections. I got into speaking actually through MC music events. For the story, for like the backstory, I'm a professional performer in music. And so through that, I first began emceeing for kind of music events. And even before I did that, with like solos and orchestra performances, I got rejected a ton, a ton for sometimes the reasons make sense, sometimes they don't. Sometimes it's just me overcomplicating things in my head. But yeah, I got rejected a lot even before I began my speaking journey. And even when I did, I applied to things. Sometimes they would ghost me, sometimes they would like give me feedback on where to improve. So it's definitely a normal part of the journey. And going back to the first part of the question, finding these opportunities. This one, as I mentioned before, Project Make a Statement and reach out to me on Instagram for this one. But usually you can find out about these through Facebook groups. I know there's like a Canadian student opportunity one if you're Canadian, and there are also a few of those like random, I guess, events every now and then floating around in Discord channels. If you're interested in this, I think I might be able to send you like a list if you want. If you want, you can email me like the question, like, hey, can you send me like a list of it? And I'll send you a list if I come across any good opportunities. And yeah, just keep your eyes open on Discord channel, Slack, Facebook, all of these groups, maybe also on Instagram. Follow some organizations that do a lot of these topics and a lot of these talks, like Project Make a Statement. They offer a lot of these great workshops. So definitely check them out here.
I guess stemming off of that, how do you really cope with the rejection since, as you mentioned previously, there is quite a bit of
Uh,
rejection that does come with
yeah.
like searching out for these opportunities?
That's a hard one. I think at first I definitely didn't really accept it. I think just getting into that industry at like the age I did, I really just wasn't expecting this. It was really hard at first. I was like, am I the one not good enough? Like, is it my skills that's not good enough that I can improve on? Or is it just me that's not good enough? I think at first I really beat myself over not getting these positions or not getting these offers. And that's definitely something really normal that we all experience every now and then. The point is that it isn't really just you that's going through all of these. We all do. We all get some sort of road bumps every here and there. And we all experience these. There was a period that I didn't get a single offer, whether it was like with the music or speaking for 14 months, I think. And that was so devastating to me. I I worked on what I do for a long time only to start off at round zero again. And I think the moment when I realized that I was actually about to quit, what kept me going was knowing that everything is temporary. It happens, it goes, everything happens to us, but nothing is temporary, nothing bad will ever last forever. And good things do come. So, even if you get a rejection every now and then, it really isn't the end of the world for you. You can get over it. If you try to focus on the good parts and know that it never lasts forever, I'm sure you can get there.
Okay, well, that's wonderful. We actually have a question from the chats. Someone asked, how do you prepare for your talks or speaking events?
Ooh, talks or speaking events. So, yeah, so first I go through like a rough draft of like points to cover. So I'll just like quickly take you through a few of the parts that I go behind the scenes for. So first I lay out the table of contents first on like a doc or something like that. And then, with every one of these, I try to have like a central idea, like what is the purpose? What do I want the audience to take away from it? After I get that, I usually decide like a template and I build off of each of these ideas through like the slides here. So all of these are like an idea that I had. And after I'm done building through these, I'll maybe go back and add, for example, some of these emojis here or icons, whatever you call them, just to make it a little less robotic in a way. And I think it's on this slide. Yeah, I have my credits here. And what I do before I do the presentation, usually I try to get it in at least a week and ahead, is I get someone to check over everything that I do. In this case, it's one of my close friend and also Project Make a Statement. I just like send it over to them with like a quick message like, hey, can you quickly check this over? Make sure it looks okay. Are there any errors or are there any points that you don't get? If nothing, if there's nothing that comes up from that, then I go back to like the guide version and then I make this one and also this one that I have wherever it is hidden here. And through that, it almost gives me like a kind of like a speaking point. It's almost like a script. But since I basically wrote it twice, I can absorb more of the information than, for example, if I only had the slides. So it's almost like a practice round where I'm applying the knowledge that I put into the slides, but 2 times again. And that is kind of like a memorization process where I get kind of like the script down. And occasionally, if this is like a topic I haven't done anything on, I'll probably write something here that I've practiced this through either independently or with like a team, just so that everyone kind of can give their feedback on where I'm lacking. So yeah, just like an overall draft of what I'm gonna do, doing each of those things in detail. After that, getting someone to proofread your work and check it, and then applying that, and then practicing it like the real version through if you need it.
Okay. Well, I think that thoroughly answers their question. And there's actually one more that we actually got in the chat, and it's really someone just kind of summarizing their experiences, saying that they've been reading a lot on trying to improve their speaking, but they don't really see themselves kind of volunteering to speak in public. They kind of just ask, like, what should they really do about this? Like, how can they kind of gain the confidence to feel comfortable speaking in public?
Ooh, I think that's a hard one to address. I think we need to pinpoint the why before the how. I can definitely give you a lot of tips, but if they're not really applicable to where you are right now, that might not benefit you. So there definitely needs to be like a why you're not feeling comfortable. Is it because you're kind of scared that others might judge you or that you might not have the qualifications or the knowledge to do that? That might relate back to, for example, our thoughts part of it. And it's just something that you have to pinpoint exactly why. And then you have to relate back to a umbrella topic on how, as I did, or you can just Google that specific point and link that to a specific how. I don't think there really is like a one solution that addresses every single group problem there is. but there's definitely things that we can do to address in general. I know that most people are definitely looking at like the performance over communication oriented styles. So switching from everybody's judging me to everybody's here to hear my idea would be like a big one that would benefit a lot of people, I would say. And another one of those would be just your experience. You don't have to underplay your achievements, or you don't have to feel like you're not qualified enough. If you are in public and you're in that particular place and particular time that you need to speak up on something, you're probably qualified enough, or else you won't be there. It's like getting a job. If you got that job, you're qualified to get that job. So if you're there and you need to speak up, you're probably qualified enough to speak up and you probably have the experiences to do so.
I think that's wonderful. And since we are nearing the end of your workshop, I guess, do you have any last notes for people who have kind of stuck around for the entire hour?
I just saw a private message, a direct message. Just curious, can we have the other guys from my Notion as well? If you click on the link that I just sent, that one should open to like a, oh my gosh, I clicked it. I don't know how many times I clicked that, but okay, that one went to that. So interesting. Let's see if Notion, that the Notion one works. But if you click on that, that should work. Yeah, that should work. And you should be able to see some of like my guys that I already wrote and some of the ones that are coming out. For example, this is the one we have today. I'll add this one here right after the workshop is done. But here are a few more that were requested. If you have a request, feel free to email me as well. But yeah, just a few of these guys. And if you want to click on them, for example, this one, you can check out the original copy in the Google Doc format, or you can just see each of these, expand on the points, look at the images. So yeah, if you can't find the link, or if like the Zoom ends and then like you lose the link or something, feel free to message me or email me, and then I can send you that again. But yeah, thank you so much for everyone who attended this and stuck through the entire time. I really appreciate you sticking through the entire time. And clearly, you do care about improving your public speaking and improving your communication skills, leadership skills, or interpersonal skills is something that you're passionate about. And yeah, I hope you the best of luck in the tournament if you're taking that. And I'll be judging there as well. So yeah, good luck for that. And thank you all for attending again.
Okay, well, thank you, Ella. Just as another reminder, we actually do have another workshop that will be starting in about 5 minutes. So if you guys want to stick around for that, feel free to do so. And if not, well, obviously, we thank Ella for her wonderful presentation, and we hope you guys really learned something from today. So thank you. I hope you guys have a good rest of your day.
Thank you. I'll drop off. Bye bye.